Welcome back to another episode of the What's Your Motor podcast. I got my man's Will Holloway here with me again. Getting a lot of great feedback about my man's and I conversations. So I got to keep bringing him on as a regular.
Sure.
So we're going to make sure we keep hitting y'all with these quick hitters and things like that about different things that's going on. A lot of times related to education, the classroom, kids, and teachers. But we may even delve into our personal lives just a little bit in terms of being fathers and husbands and things like that.
I think our topic today may have a little bit to do with that.
Yeah.
But it's a spinoff from just a conversation I was having with my son. But like at the same time, it applies to a lot of what we see in education, right now currently too. But so I think it's pertinent to a little bit of both. So we'll touch a little bit on the personal, but throw it back into the education realm for other people to digest it.
For sure. So I know you was telling me what was that, yesterday we was talking?
Yeah.
And you was just saying that that Ice was kind of complaining.
Yeah, so
complaining about his teacher, feeling like his teacher was on his back.
So, normally we talk, what I'm saying? A lot of times we talk after school a lot, and then we watch basketball games, but he kind of unraveled his day with me, you know what I mean? And so I happened to be taking him to school, I believe it was Wednesday morning. And actually, it was Wednesday morning. We was talking, and he was telling me that he had an opportunity to do, like, he was DJing for a K-5 talent show.
Okay.
And so he goes from his room, he's in 6th grade. He goes down to the K-5 room to assist.
Okay.
And the teacher, thought it was a good idea for him and his other little friend to come down and be able to be a part of their talent show, helped them out a little bit.
Leaders, some little leaders right there.
Right, so...
Shout out Ice, man, for being a leader, man.
So he got that opportunity to do it, and so all week he been telling me, like, yeah, Miss Darla really been on my case. And I've been listening to him, but I've been kind of letting him vent about it, So
right.
Trying to let him get it off his chest or whatever, but like by the time we started getting towards the end of the week, I kind of had enough of him, not necessarily having a feeling or whatever, because I had a feeling or whatever as a student when I felt like maybe a teacher was coming down on me a little bit too hard sometimes.
Yeah. But
I also I kind of needed him to change his perspective a little bit, so I got on him a little bit because
right.
I feel like when you're in an environment and you learning from somebody, you're not gonna get the same thing every time. So like, I kind of took the example to him of his coaches or whatever up to this point. Like, you haven't had a yeller yet, and some
yelling coach, a coach
yes,
that yells,
a
right?
Coach that yells, like, so you had some coaches that was a little bit firm, right? You had some trainers that was a little bit firm. Shout out to Blow, you know what I mean? Shout out to Coach Blow. But like, you had people be firm with you, but you haven't had a yeller yet, right? And no matter how we feel about the whole spectrum of coaches that you might get or spectrum of teachers that you might get. So I'm gonna pull it back into the education realm. Some people are going to be a little bit tougher to deal with than other people, right?
Absolutely.
But what I was trying to help him understand is that you need something from that person. So you got to actually take what that person is saying, that person's personality quirks, that person's attitude a little bit sometimes.
Yep. And
learn how to manage your way through that. Because once you learn how to manage your way through that, when you get out into your career field, you get out into working with any kind of groups that you might want to work with. You might be working to do something with your own personal business or your investments. You know how to have a conversation with that kind of person because you've had to learn under that person, right? And so that was my whole thing. Like, you need to take something away from her and stop worrying about, because his biggest thing was that, like, when she makes a mistake, she won't even acknowledge the mistake. And I'm like, you're not in a position,
right?
You're not in a position to correct her mistake. Now, me and you both have talked about this quite a bit, right?
I was gonna say that. Yep.
We talk about this quite a bit in terms of I've been in the classroom and made a mistake.
Absolutely.
And kids have pointed it out, and we acknowledge it as a group. I make sure I tell them that I made the mistake or whatever. Y'all caught the mistake. Appreciate y'all catching the mistake. Right after that, though, I gotta resume authority if that's the kind of environment we had going before I made that mistake.
Right.
I needed to snap back into that environment again or whatever. But I'm gonna acknowledge the mistake or whatever because I also need to be an example of what I'm talking about.
Exactly, and we talk about that all the time, right?
No question.
You gotta be an example.
So I need to be an example of what I'm saying. I can't tell you to say sorry after you made a mistake or apologize, and we go through this whole process of trying to get you back to redeem yourself, right?
Right.
And I just act like I didn't do it. What kind of nonsense is that? So the last thing we want to do is be hypocritical, but like I can't put that into every educator that you're going to experience.
I know.
I can't put that into every coach that you're going to come across. And so it's a two-way street, right? Good teachers recognize and reflect on what they do.
Yes.
And even in the moment, they might be like, "Yep, you know what? You're right." Let's just say sometimes you say you're right and I need to get the control back. Sometimes you're right and I need to change gears because what you said actually will help us get to what we're trying to get to a little bit faster or a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Now, I can take that, right? But again, I'm always going to be in charge of my class.
Right. And I might even let you explain to the class why I'm wrong.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to put a pin in what I was saying. I like what you said.
Right.
But I need you to expound on it a little bit more. I'm going to give you the floor.
And even more simplified, I might have spelled something wrong. And whenever they would catch me spelling something wrong as a literacy teacher, like very random, because I want to let you know I'm a good speller for sure. But if they caught me slipping,
they gonna be on
that
your
was
head.
Gold.
What?
And I would have to eat that. Like, dang, I spelled that wrong. All right, go ahead. You write it on the board.
It's almost like a brain break for us, though.
Yeah,
right?
But it's cool. I was cool with that. I was cool with the kids pointing me out, like, "Hey, Mr. Cullen, you spelled that wrong," and they would laugh. Cool. Dang, I spelled that wrong. I never took it personal. That's where we mess up at.
And but that part, exactly what you explaining or whatever, even that mess up became a woven in part of what you was doing. Like it became a part of y'all environment.
That's our classroom culture.
Correct. You didn't get all up in arms because somebody pointed you out. It didn't take 20 minutes for y'all to, but again, I've seen it go in classes where somebody pointed out one little small mistake and it derailed the whole lesson.
And what do adults always say? You got to be able to take constructive criticism. You got to be able to allow somebody to criticize you and critique your work. But then we get up in front of these kids, and if a kid say something, not saying all, but a lot of times teachers get offended and they get upset.
No question.
And the kids can see that. We're supposed to be modeling.
You on stage, bro. You on stage.
What do we say? We are thespians.
You on the stage.
Remember, you and I both, well, I think you said you used to decorate your room a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Remember, I never decorated a room.
Remember that.
Because I said, they came to see me.
But look,
I'm the show.
For sure.
I'm the show. When you come to my room, I'm the show. I'm about to put on this great presentation for you.
Absolutely.
We're going to learn. We're going to have fun.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then you're going to be putting these posters up.
Slowly but surely.
Yes.
I started to strip off that stuff. I'm not bringing all that material in here or whatever. Nope. These kids not even paying attention. You know, you put stuff up there with the actual resources on it. Kids can look. If they looked at it, they'd be like, hey, I ain't even got to, you know what I'm saying?
On the test. I did every time.
That's what I'm saying. So I started taking that stuff down because kids wasn't even, you know, I think if you putting it up, that's what they paying attention to. And again, that's something that we've been programmed to think because we're teachers and this and that. And what people don't really realize is, and you guys talk about this a little bit on the Special Needs and Wants podcast. Shout out to my man's over there with the Special Needs.
Shout out Lee,
Shout out Lee real quick. Y'all talk about it. It's a wide range in the room, right? So while I might see something on the wall and see the information and take it in,
right?
It's 5 kids in there. They're never going to do that. They're never going to see that. They're never going to pay attention to that.
Right.
It's overstimulating to have all those colors and everything on the wall for some of those kids.
Yeah.
Some of those kids may be diagnosed with something. Many of them are not. So they're in your classroom, and you have to be able to figure out all of that stuff or whatever, right? So why not let's just figure out a way to do it all together, right?
Right.
I'm going to put y'all classroom work up there, right? If you find a piece of research and we want to find something to go around that research, that'll be what our decoration is. After you do the presentation, we put it up. It'll be there.
Simple.
So, but it's something that you did. Now we all can, embrace it because you did the work for it. So, So, just going back, man, like I had to really try to break that down for him because I felt like it was getting to the point, and I feel him getting to the point too. And he got this honestly or whatever. He a little know-it-all, right?
From moms or pops?
From
Put him on the spot. Put him on the spot.
I'm going to give it a 60-40.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 60-40. Mom's is 40.
Mom's is a 40.
So I'm going to just say mom's is a know-it-all, but she don't like to do nothing if it ain't based on some sort of research facts. She got to have it in her pocket. Otherwise, she ain't going to get out there and say nothing. Pops, on the other hand, I'm going to get out there and say something if I feel like I know what I'm talking about because I done enough empirical, like getting out there and seeing it for myself, doing it.
Right.
So I'm gonna think I know, right? So,
yeah.
But
beyond the research,
Correct. But
qualitative, bro.
Let's go back a little bit. When your boy was a kid, around his age, I thought I knew everything and I didn't know.
That's
but
for sure.
because I was very perceptive and I could pick up on things very quickly, and I seen how people shifted this and shifted that.
Right.
I picked up on things so quickly, so I thought I know. He the same way.
He the same way.
Very perceptive, just like a little sponge. So you see when a person is messing up or doing the wrong thing or whatever, but at the same time, if you be so concerned with that, now you're off of what you actually really supposed to be learning. You watching that person's behavior, and it's a place for that.
Right.
It's a place to watch that person's behavior. It's a place to, because again, you want to see really like how deep I can go with this particular person.
Yep.
Or can I, like, there was teachers that I could go into the room or whatever, be with that teacher or whatever, and realize that, okay, this all they can give me, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna take that bit with what they can give me. There was certain teachers or whatever though. So I had a lot of teachers that were like bordering on being like a little touch, really eccentric. I had teachers that would come in like you watch on the TV shows and they dress like the character from the literature that you're reading, and they in character.
Macbeth.
Stuff like that. Hear ye. Like,
shout out Gallagher. That's the only reason why I know Shakespeare.
This is what I'm saying. So like, he would come in and make it vivid, and it'd be like funny to me at first, but then like when you listening to it and then you read the story, it's like he tried to make that
make sense.
Make sense to us. He tried to make it come alive or whatever. So. And then there were teachers that was in the middle that knew how to use it without having to go over the line, right? They knew how to really hit you somewhere in your chest, hit you in your head, and you like, yeah, I really get that. I understand that. It resonated with me.
Exactly.
And so I always tried to aim to be one of those teachers that I could be somewhere in the middle, but like I've delved into the extreme sometimes with the kids just so to prove the point with them, I would never put no costume on.
No, I'm not wearing no costume.
But like, you go a little far sometimes to be able to show them like, let me illustrate to them. Sometimes you got some kids that they don't believe it. Yeah. So you really got to show them, I done seen, what's funny about that too is that like, I'm older, so I can't really hoop like I used to do with the kids and stuff. Uh-huh. And I done seen you shred a couple kids because they be talking so crazy they don't know though.
That footage on camera still.
So it'd be funny, like, they think they know, though. So, like, they think they know, and I'd be like, I could already see what happened. And these be like kids that can hoop sometimes, right?
And it be in love, but it's just like...
I gotta show you, though.
Let's just stay humble, because at the end of the day, like, you're not gonna get nowhere if you're not being humble.
It's a different level. Like, it's a different level sometimes. Like, so you gotta work your way up to that level. You can't just jump right up there, right?
It's a pecking order, bro.
That's how I go. So... That's really what I be want my son to understand,
right.
And like I said, I've had kids that, as a guidance counselor, so many kids came to me and, one of the major things was complaining about the teacher. This teacher don't like me.
Yes.
This teacher don't this teacher don't that, and this teacher did this because of this. And a lot of times I understood why the teacher was making the decisions they was making, right?
And sometimes the kid was right.
Wait, that's a whole nother show. Sometimes them kids be what? They be right on point because you go in the room and you can see it happening. Like
remember that one.
Go ahead, hit it. Go ahead.
That one time, we ain't gonna say her name, but she came down and described that teacher to a T, and we looked at each other like, what we say?
She did.
She ain't lying.
She did that.
She did that.
She did that. She did that. Like. It wasn't no way around it or whatever. We had seen it for ourselves, but
it was like in that setting, it was like we had to kind of validate the student, but also draw that line and still be like, we advocating for this teacher.
We had to,
because we don't want to muddy those waters, especially as professionals, as a counselor and an administrator.
Absolutely.
We still had to hold it together, like, but we had to really acknowledge, like, hey, your feelings probably are right.
You're right. You are correct, and the conversation needs to be had or whatever. You probably don't need to be a part of that conversation,
right?
Because you're not going to be rational in the conversation, right? It's not even your place.
Your observation was accurate,
but you was spot on with what you said. Like that happened. That definitely happened,
and that hurts, bro. You know what I mean? That hurts sometimes because it's like,
what do you do, like? And in a lot of these situations too, I think one of the major things that I tried to tell my son and I tried to impress upon him when we was having this conversation is, if that teacher that we talking about, if it's in love and you really trying to learn from this person or whatever, right, you got to deal with the quirks that come along with it. You got to deal with the personality. Now, if that teacher says something to you she shouldn't say, Now you need to tell me what happened with that, so that I can have a conversation and figure out, why a conversation may be had or why this was said or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And as a guidance counselor, that was something that I always wanted to try to make, impress upon kids. Like, you have an advocate at home that you can have this conversation, but make sure that you accurate in telling them and not just giving them ammo to come up here and fire, because they'll do that.
And that's a challenging part, because a lot of those kids was dragging them stories.
What?
Dragging.
Extra mayonnaise,
and I used to be like, that did not happen.
No. So you gotta, sometimes you gotta be in the room to mediate, because it's like, that didn't happen. We had situations where kids looked like, get the teacher, call the teacher down here, because the teacher didn't say that. The teacher, that's not how that happened. I'm almost sure that's not what happened. The teacher comes and the story changed all over again. So you really gotta make sure all them pieces be there. And sometimes them kids they ain't got enough to not be personal about it, So they're going to throw something in there. They're going to try to add a little bit. They're going to make it seem like they had a terrible attitude. It's happened to us. That thing has happened. That very thing has happened to us.
We are not exempt.
Absolutely not, because you're dealing with personal feelings. So when kids go home and they want to see, this the other thing about it, right? Both of us in the classroom sarcastic and smug and all know what. So the kids want to see you lose sometimes.
Yes.
They just want to see you get your just desserts, because they done been in so many situations where they didn't see you stump this kid,
and them.
And them. And they didn't watch an adult come in and try to stand on you, and you was like, no. So they want to see you be like, oh my God, dude, got him again.
Yeah.
Like, somebody please trip him up.
Remember I told you what happened?
What happened?
I was teaching 6th grade, and I think he wouldn't care. Shout out my boy Braden. He actually just wrote me. He DM'd me the other day. Matter of fact, he DM'd me today. So Braden must have. He knew my expectations for my classroom. We intrinsically motivated him with no excuses.
There you go.
Bring your homework. Come ready. Have your utensils.
You know what time it is.
Exactly. My man's came in. I'm checking off everybody's stuff. He forgot his folder. I lost my folder, Mr. Cullen. It's not my problem.
That's on you, sir.
I'm not trying to be insensitive, but you know how we rocking here. That's not my problem. I don't know where it's at. So folks went home and told his mom, cool. Mm-hmm. Mom, like, yeah, I don't think that was the right thing to say. I said, ma'am, I hear you, but he knows what I expect.
Right.
So when I said that's not my problem, I meant that's not my problem in regards to him not having it and not bringing it. Not saying that if he said, like, I think I left it at home, or can I go to my locker and look at it. It's up to him to fix it. It's up to him to fix it. It's not me. Correct. So I prided myself as a teacher of placing the onus on the kid, because if I continue to handhold and continue to make concession after concession after concession, that's enabling. Yeah. And I refuse to do that. So even going back to what you were saying in regards to like diversifying the classroom and what we got going on for the different learners, one of my students, Rufus, I think he rap now. Shout out Ru. Man, he was a little grown man.
Okay.
I was 27, 28. He had a thicker mustache than me. Shout out Ru. Ru was a strong little. I used to be like, boy, you grown?
Little Tank.
You somebody uncle?
Little Tank.
Yes, Little Tank. For real. Little Tank for real. But long story short, we doing something in the classroom. He's new to the school and stuff like that, and the way it's going. And I recognized it, and we was doing the project. So I was like, you know what? Let me create a mnemonic device for him to like get what we trying to do in here.
Right.
And he was able to do that.
Okay.
And that was fulfilling.
For sure.
For him, but it was more so fulfilling for me, because I'm thinking like, dang. And that was like my second or third year teaching. I'm just like,
you peeped it. You
see
saw
what I'm saying?
You saw it.
But
right?
That's necessary.
Absolutely. You got to be able to determine, like, it's things that's happening with certain kids in your class. Like this kid don't get it, right?
Right. And you got to see that.
You got to see it. Like it was kids. So along with what you're saying or whatever, there's kids or whatever. And I've done guidance lessons. We do this stuff, and some of it is like, you recognize that these kids need more than just the guidance piece of it. They do really need an academic piece to go along with it.
Absolutely.
So like when I'm talking about trauma, when I'm talking about certain environmental stressors and things like that, when we talk about growth mindset or whatever, there are terms that go along with it.
Stop with all the jargon, bro. Here you go with all these words.
I'm sorry, bro.
You in your bag. Go ahead.
I'm a SEL guy.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Social, emotional learning for those people.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
No,
boy.
I'm just playing. But anyway,
you're right.
I'm doing this and I'm trying to set it up. So like throughout the week, we're gonna be doing I gotta give you some sit and get stuff, right?
That's what I'm saying. Right.
So it's certain kids that like they only want to do the fun activities. So I'm gonna incorporate some fun activities, but throughout the week, right?
Right.
It's not gonna all be fun activities. We're gonna have to do some sit and get because I need you to really understand and take in what I'm trying to do. So there are kids that just when we get to that sit and get part, it's kids that sit up and they know exactly like they locked in.
What time it is?
They locked in because it's like, okay, this is the part where we got to really figure out what's going on so that when we get to the fun part, we'll know how to incorporate this in there too.
Absolutely.
There's certain kids that go to sleep, right? You walk over to that kid that goes to sleep, and I done had this happen on so many occasions throughout the times that this kid really can't read. This kid has never really been challenged to do the work. Mm-hmm. The kid has never had to write. Like they had never had to write it out. Like and what's weird about this is that I didn't have this happen from second grade all the way up to 8th grade. And these kids in the 8th grade, they're like, you really feel bad because it's like they're going to 9th grade and the expectation go up, but the academic level, the emotional level, it's not there.
It's not there.
So that kid, you really worried because they gonna get pushed along, and they're gonna get in 9th grade. And again, when you get to 9th grade, because the expectations go up, people expect that you're going to follow them, right? So people want to have more control over what you do when you get into those grades.
Yep.
They're going to set more boundaries because you're getting older and they can't just let you have them freedoms because you don't know how to handle the freedoms, right?
Absolutely.
It may be 5 or 6 mature kids that know how to do it, but it's 35 that don't. And them 35 is going to ruin it for everybody. So they have to put these things in place. Otherwise, things is going to run rampant. And the kid that don't have a social structure outside of that, what happens in Wisconsin? What happens in Milwaukee?
Pipeline.
They drop out.
Pipeline.
Them kids stop going to school, Pipeline. And so it's just another thing of what we're talking about because what I'm trying to tell my son as a 6th grader or whatever, you're going to need to know that again in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. College, like if you go to college, you do an apprenticeship, you're gonna need to know it. If you playing basketball somewhere, you're gonna need to know it.
As an adult working in a professional organization, you're gonna need to know it because you got all these different people you working with.
You're gonna need to know it.
So it goes back to us talking about how important it is to have a diversified group of teachers that you deal with, so you can understand how to navigate these different spaces.
You have to be in those settings.
Yeah, man. Because I don't know, man. Like even when I was just listening, like just thinking about those kids, like you said, that fall asleep in the classroom and knowing, they can't read. You find out they can't read. Mm-hmm. And then you find out even more, like, a teacher never even sat down with you.
Yep.
And took the time. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, you know how sometimes we can send our kids off and be like, okay, we got this project we doing, X, Y, and Z. You got your group. And you might want to pull that kid to the side for the sake of yourself. And a lot of times I would do that. Yep. Or I would work in there. And then just like you said, like, the kids like to see you lose, right? Sometimes,
no question.
But they also like to see you immersed in the lesson yourself. So if you got to do a report and then I need you to get up here and present or recite a poem, guess what? I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna recite one too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because I need to still model it now. I'm going to do it every time. Am I going to write the paper every time? No, I'm not doing it all the time.
I can't do it every time.
I'll do it right around with you out loud.
For sure.
As an example, as an exemplar. I prided myself in that.
I can't do all the way every time.
But I'm not doing that long paper I gave you.
Like, in fairness, it's 30 of them coming back, and I got to look at all 30 of them. I got to critique all 30 of them. I got to put some on all 30 of them. I got to have 30 conferences.
What's the rule? What was the rule? Because I used to read the papers, everybody paper, like front to back. My sister was like, you don't need to do all that.
She knows something I don't.
Yes. She said, you read like the introduction, you read some of the middle, and you some of the end. I used to read every paper.
I read everything. Every single line, every word.
She's like, no. She said, you want to make sure they get the gist of everything.
You know what? And that makes sense. That actually, I'm going to put a pin in that because that really makes sense. Like, a lot of times we not, and that's why, man, that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
Because the content is not so important as the process. We're illustrating how to do the process so that, because some of the content that you pick up when you're, I don't know a lot of that content no more.
Absolutely.
It's things that's just gone out of my head in regards to that. And
I just know the structure.
But the structure of it, I know that an essay needs an introduction, it needs a main body, and needs a conclusion to it, right?
I mean, a hook. That changed.
Look, see?
It changed so many times. Listen, introduction, body, conclusion.
Right.
I'm not going off of that. Paragraphs is 3 to 5 sentences.
Yeah.
Don't tell me nothing else.
That's all I'm
This
saying.
hamburger and stuff they got going on, I don't eat those. I'm not doing it that way, bro.
Yeah.
In certain ways in which they didn't try to change a lot of that stuff, I'm not
I
doing
feel
that.
you.
There's
feel you.
nothing wrong. We didn't went to graduate school, and I did it that same way,
Like, it's
and
a
I've
lot-
been successful in that.
It's a lot of things that I incorporated from when I was growing up into the classroom or whatever. But that's what makes it be successful. Like, you
Right.
keep pulling things like from the past that you knew were successful. We keep cutting those things out and trying to find this more efficient way, and the more efficient way is helpful for some, but for a majority of our kids, it's not. A lot of our kids need some sit and get time. They need some repetition time. They need some muscle memory time. They need, like, you need to continuously do this. Drill.
Thank you.
It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Like, because if it don't happen, you get out on the job and now somebody has to keep showing you something over and over and over again. You never got the process. Like, nobody wants to continuously show an adult something over and over again that you say that you've been trained to do, right? So it's wild.
Don't go there.
Yeah, it's a whole other topic, ain't it? Look,
Do not go there.
I'm about to see my man walk
You
off.
speaking of core.
But I did want to touch back on something that you said a little while ago, right? And it's a two-way street for what we talking about. Because if a student don't care for you, the fact of the matter that when I'm doing the lessons with those students and the students is locked in, but it's a student that go to sleep, if the student didn't like me, that student would have disrupted instead of going to sleep.
I would agree.
Now, I can wake the student up and they'll be a little bit ornery with me, but they know I'm waking them up because I want them to, like, no, you can't. You don't get an excuse. You don't get to lay down. I need you to be trying to do this too.
Right.
If you need help, then that's what you need to come and try to tell me.
Right.
But I need you to stay up. I'm going to come and check with you anyway, though, because I've already perceived that you can't do it at the level that everybody else can. But guess what? You still have to do it.
And that's what I'm here for.
So, again, but if my relationship was not strong enough, so again, teachers, we had to put something back on the teachers too, right? And the only reason my son would even listen to Miss Darla do that is because she had already established a relationship with him.
Yep.
She had already sung his praises about how he had come down to the K-5 classroom, and done all these different things and everything else. So he don't like necessarily being corrected by Miss Darla because the relationship was set up a little bit differently. But it's because that relationship was there that he would even listen to that and be able to, of course. But again, he mad, but he did it.
Right.
So my whole thing, a lot of times, it's like, William, that was a hard thing for you to have to go through, but at the end of it, you felt so fulfilled because why? I completed it. I did it. Did you just throw something together? No, I had to do it to these specific qualifications. Like I had to have all these things in a row. Otherwise, I wouldn't have accomplished it.
That self-satisfaction is big for kids, man.
So again, we got to fall in love with the work a little bit.
Fall in love with the work.
That's a major thing for us. But
academically, sports-wise, whatever, fall in love with the work.
You have to fall in love with it in order for it to, like, really in your mind really want to go after it and attack it. Like sometimes it's otherwise or whatever, you'll take shortcuts, you'll lean a little bit, relax a little bit. And if you fall in love with the work, and a lot of times you fall in love with the journey, the end piece, is satisfying, but it's because of all that time and effort and that work
whole
that you
process.
It's that journey or whatever. I just actually talked to somebody about this the other day or whatever. So it's wild that we be on the same page with this without having a conversation about it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, you have to. Ms. Darla had that relationship so she could be a little bit tougher on him.
Yep.
And him not like, he told me about it or whatever, but that's just him kind of decompressing at the end of his day. He didn't fold in that moment. He stepped up to the plate, and when Friday came, he was so happy with himself at the end of it because he felt like he did a good job.
Do you think, even running through all that you just did, do you think that he'll maybe use some of what Miss Darla kind of like input in, in the future? So, for example, like when I played basketball, Mr. Hines was my first coach that was just like yelling. Hines didn't play.
It was a shock
like
to
it was so. And shout out to Hines. During the time, I used to be like, man, why is he yelling so much?
It wasn't fun.
I became a coach. I became him. I would be yelling and screaming, and of course I had to dial it back. And you blend it. And I took some of what he had in terms of his firmness, his strictness, the seriousness, the routine, but I also coupled it with my own demeanor, and I became a little bit more calmer. Yeah, I still yell, in terms of like, get back and stuff like that. And
Right.
Hines,
He was on that.
Hines.
Breathing fire.
Anybody that's watching this that know Mr. Hines, no. Shout out Hines though. So I'm just thinking, like, do you think Will pick up some of that stuff from her and maybe incorporate it into something he ended up doing?
I think so, and I think because there's so many examples of it happening to him all the time. So just in that example that I'm giving, it's a unique example that she's allowing him to come in and deal with kids that are younger than him, right?
Right.
So in dealing with some of them kids, and he's already told me like some of them kids don't listen. I said, so what you be having to do? He's like, I be kind of having to stand on a few of them, right? And so he already taking it from her and don't realize that that's what he doing. So I think you being put in those situations a lot, and if your critical thinking is being challenged in that particular way, you start to develop that like again, muscle memory or whatever in regards to those processes. Okay, I've been here before with a kid.
Yep.
This kid I gotta kind of be a little bit patient with. They working with me, so I'm gonna work with them a little bit.
Yep.
This one right here, no, I'm gonna cut him right on off and just push him right on in because he ain't listening. I know I gotta handle him a little bit rougher than the other kids. Again, we ain't talking about actually physically handling him rough.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that's a disclaimer.
Yeah, right.
Well,
some kids.
It's so much stuff that pop in my head when this man gets to talking, and pop. No pun intended.
Yeah, I had to give it to little buddy.
Hey, but look, so when we talk about buddies, like him going down there and be the leader. So do you remember when we had, what grade was Saku in? Was he in 8th grade, 7th grade? What grade was Saku in at one time?
I think he was in 8th grade.
So Saku, shout out Saku for winning state and all that.
Shout out to that boy Saku.
Shout out Omar too.
Yeah, for sure.
For winning that St. Thomas More.
What up, O?
Shout out. Do you remember when remember Saku was just so goofy in class, childish.
Always playing.
Do you remember what we did? We end up, I was like, dude, you keep coming down to my office. I said, Saku, I'm trying to see you in my office. Yeah. And you know how Saku used to be looking like, all that. He's like, no. I said, you know what? I got something for you. You don't remember?
What did you do? I can't remember exactly what happened.
What was I gave him the little kindergartner that had all the energy.
Yes.
And we made him stay with him the whole day. We brought his work down. He had to go to lunch with him. He had to go to recess with him.
That boy was tired, but like, you saw it. You saw him have to like make that adjustment. You
exactly.
could see it in school working with that kid. Like,
yes.
Having some patience.
This is what I'm saying.
But like also sometimes having to run him down and catch him and all that other stuff because it was a real issue.
Right.
And then bringing it back to Saku, like that's how it is dealing with you.
Right.
That's how it is when like
because he would see us in the hallway. He was like, "Can I go back to my class?"
All the time. Like,
you gotta finish out the day.
Finish that out. And
we would be cracking up laughing.
What's so funny about this? It was a 2nd grader, I believe.
I'm trying to remember who it was.
Him being at the end of the line with them when they go on to lunch.
And Saku was 6'7".
6'1". He was 6'1".
He was 6'1" then?
He popped up when he got to high school. He probably was 6'1", 6'2" when he was in 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
And then he exploded. He came back the next year. He was 6'7". So, but yeah, it's just funny to see a big 6'2" boy, like a whole
with them little kids,
walking with them little bitty kids, and he got the same powder in his place because he can't go back to class.
Remember, he'd walk past the office and be looking like
with the sad little music going on.
Keep going. How's it going, Saku?
A little one tear coming out of his eye, like you with them today, bro.
They used to walk down the hallway like this. Shout out Saku, man. Hopefully that was a learned lesson, man, and sure. It made you better, man. But kudos to you. Obviously, it looked like he's doing well. So
no question, my man is doing really, really good.
I also want to shout out. Remember, I sent it to you, Tavion Thompson. Shout out Tavion, man. I seen him in the Connect, in the Mesmer Connect, man. That's great to see.
Zaria too.
Zaria,
man.
So shout out them kids.
Right now.
It's beautiful to see them kids.
No question.
One of my former students, Yana. Shout out Yana at Parkside. Her track season just ended. She did a great job, man.
There's a lot of kids doing a lot of good things.
Man, just lovely to see them.
I see a lot of kids down in MA and like some of them in culinary, some of them in nursing. Shout out Fantasia. I see Fantasia over in the nurse department all the time. She doing her thing over there. So it's a lot of kids. I actually just ran into a kid not too long ago. Shout out Courtney across the street. I'm coming out of my house and she like, you used to be my teacher. And I'm looking, squinting like, what's your name? She told me. I was like, immediately when she told me, I knew exactly who she was. So She told me she in nursing school or whatever. So
Devin Cook, shout out Devin.
Devin Cook, just seen him yesterday or whatever. He remembered me, and I was barely over in his building. Mm-hmm. But when he said it, I said, so Cullen and everything. Face lit up. You should have seen it. Mom's popped around the corner and everything. Like, oh, Cullen here now. So
that's my last graduating class, boy.
Yeah, so it's a good feeling or whatever, especially when you see that you had a part in doing what you know what I'm saying, and helping them in some particular way. And those kids, not to say that you the sole reason why they're doing what they're doing, because a lot of these kids already had a lot on the ball,
right?
But they was receptive to what you was saying to them, and they actually tried to apply it. And you can see it in a lot of these kids that we, now are out here in the community,
right? That we end up seeing, right?
No question. Some of them, they working, they doing a lot of good things and making it happen.
Started families, got businesses.
Shout out my boy Malcolm down there at MATC, getting ready to go down to North Carolina A&T. So. He's about to transfer from the classes that he's doing down at MA, and he was one of my little guys too when we was rocking with the guidance counseling thing or whatever. So Malcolm was one of my guys. So it's a lot of people we probably could shout out. It's a lot of people we know we're gonna miss, but over the time us doing these or whatever, we definitely gonna have more shout outs and people to throw out there. So
and real quick, so as we reminisce about this, it just made me feel like something. I just felt something like kind of like almost like this peace or this completeness from being like a former educator in terms of like being in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we seen that while we were in the midst of it or even when we first started. And maybe that's something, and I don't even think we was even thinking about the end. I didn't think about the end in the beginning, but I know we talking about everything that's going on now, but I'm just really trying to think, how can we help these teachers that are now, and we hear it all the time. Mm-hmm. These kids, it started at home, the parents, we hear all these things. And just like he was talking about ICE, just like adjusting to this teacher and taking with the teacher, you know what I'm saying? I'm just thinking about the culmination of everything. And as you were saying, I'm just thinking like, man, it was a lot. I did complain sometimes.
No question.
Some kids would complain about, some of the tactics that, myself or other teachers would use. Yeah, but then you also will have those families that would support you. Yeah. And then now to see them now. Yeah. That's a full circle moment.
It definitely is. I think that when you in it, you can't really see it because you're so engrossed in what's going on. It's kind of, you can't see the forest for the trees kind of thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you're in the midst of that forest or whatever, you really can't see what's happening with it. But like you said, seeing so many students and having so many students be not only just in school or whatever, but actually out and successful and doing things or whatever in the community and things like that. It's definitely something that we continuously can, like, it hits you or whatever, and now you reflect on it. And it's like, man, that's a whole full circle moment. But to answer your question, how can we help those educators that are in the now or whatever, since we kind of removed from that piece of it, by just doing what we doing or whatever, having the conversations about some of the things that we see that's happening in education. Giving our 2 cents of, based on our experience in the room between me and you, we got a lot of experience in education. That's how we able to even come up with all of these stories and different topics. And then
plenty more.
And even, we still are involved in education as higher ed, but like you see stuff all the time. We still tapped in with so many teachers still at the elementary, high school level, and things like that. And, shout out Ward, athletic directors.
Shout out Ward, man.
So it's just a lot going on with that, but I think what we do is we try to take that unique experience that we have and really try to simplify it for people. We want to give you not necessarily all the major tips and strategies for each specific situation, because that's not going to happen, but something that we already talked about. We want to give you a framework for how to make it work for you in your classroom. And so I think that's where we get back to educators, because in all the things that we're talking about, you learn how, from the framework where we talk about, to create a relationship. You learn how to create a boundary. You learn how to be firm. You learn how to be easygoing. You learn how to take the breaks when they're appropriate. You learn how to deal with the distractions. You learn how to be flexible. You learn how to, work with different levels and different groups and all those different things or whatever. So when you get a structure and you're confident in that structure, you can go into any classroom and make it happen in any classroom. Now, there is a big topic, and I think we do need to talk about this at some point in time. There are a lot of teachers who are restricted from doing those things. And how can they still make it happen? We talked about that a lot with the recent PD that we did.
Yes.
With Shining Star.
Shout out Shining Star for having us.
Star for having us coming out there. But that did come up, and then I think when we did our PD with Notre Dame as well.
Oh
shout
yeah.
Out to Notre Dame.
Shout out
to
Notre
those
Dame
teachers over there.
Yeah.
That also came up, in a Catholic environment or a religious environment. Currently I sit on the board for Early View Academy. Shout out to Early View Academy.
Early View.
And it's a church school, and a lot of those conversations, they want to get back to those church foundations and things like
identity.
That. And it's difficult in today's day and age to really fit it in there and then still have kids get what they need. And so it's really hard. So at some point in time, we do really need to have a conversation about that. We may need to really tap some other people into that conversation. But like I did want to just kind of throw that out there because it is tough, with our framework, to me, I feel like you would be able to still do that, but you have to find where the nuances is in your building and in your classroom to be able to get that material in and to get it to the people who need it, so there are ways that you can still make it happen even when there are restrictions, and in fact, I think that without us pushing to make some of these things happen, we handicapping our kids by not giving them the information, by not giving them the game, by not giving them the process. And so
it almost feels intentional sometimes, man.
Absolutely. It feels like there's a whole agenda to hold many of us back. It's a whole agenda to help us not find out more about the people that we actually stand next to, and sit next to and interact with, but not interact with, So we all come from these different communities and neighborhoods and experiences and things like that. And when we bring all those things to the table, it makes a better, richer tapestry, right? When we tell each other that no, you can't talk to them or we can't talk to you, and again, I don't have to adopt a philosophy, but I should know about the people I'm around. I should know about the environment. I should know about that. And so again,
and it should be welcome.
It should be a welcome thing. Again, we talking about schools and we talking about an environment where people should be welcome. They should feel welcome. They should feel like this is a place where I know I can grow, learn, and flourish.
Yeah, and had a support.
So that's a part of growing, learning, and flourish. You can't grow without some sort of support, right?
Absolutely.
If I plant a flower or whatever, it got to have water and sunlight in order for it to come up, and it got to have some good soil, right?
Yeah, how else is it gonna turn green? Photosynthesis.
But man, we're back with the...
Yeah, I definitely used to listen to that with Walt, man. I used to watch that with Walt, and the reason why that question came up is because I call her my sister, so it's my wife's one of her closest friends.
Okay.
But I call her my sister. She's real cool.
Yeah.
And her son goes to a private school, and she actually called me today, and she was just like, our school, we having bad turnover with a lot of teachers, or a lot of teachers are coming to teach in these urban settings real quick, and then they leaving and go get more money. And we're also trying to figure out, like, what is the problem? Some of them complain about the kids and stuff like that, but a lot of them are first year, second year, third year teachers, kind of like we talked about last time, where dude only was there for the first time. And I was telling her, like, saying me and my mans, we got ICE consultants, like, it's easy for us to run a boot camp for new teachers, like,
no question.
And I would love to do that. And at our former place, they actually had that boot camp. We wouldn't take it all or anything like that because we would tailor it to kind of like our experience and how we see it should be fit. But when she brought that up, man, I was just like, yes, like that's what we've been trying to do. Like we really could get in and touch these teachers and get to them, not touch them. I don't know why I was be saying that, but really get pause. But really try to impact them and influence them and show them some stuff and add stuff to their tool belt before they get into those classrooms, or even while they're in those classrooms.
For sure.
Because we already know the turnover is high. We know it's a tough market out there, and it's gonna be like that for a little while. But
it's gonna be that way.
If we can get to teachers and help them and try to equip them before, and like you said, they had to figure out the nuances of their classrooms. We can give them all the sauce. We can give them all the criteria and the structure, but you got to work that structure in for yourself.
And let me just do a little quick plug to the administrators out here. A lot of times, teachers will stay in those positions when they know that the administration is doing something that helps push them forward.
Yep.
So some people will dig in with you a little bit when they know that you actually support them, when you encourage them, and you bring in people that will actually help move that forward. There are a lot of times when I know I've been, and again, we can talk about this with teachers, there's PDs that come out and people don't feel like those PDs are actually even effective for the kids that they serving.
True.
But because the school has to have PDs come out for these designated days, and sometimes these administrators, and again, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this is what happens. They get somebody that they know that they in cahoots with, almost, right?
Yeah.
To come out and talk about something because that person is a friend of theirs, or they've been knowing this person for years or whatever. You kind of believe in what they're saying or whatever, and you think that it will actually help teachers, but there's actually a better solution out there for your teachers and for your students and families that you're serving. So we can't keep getting caught up in doing the same, grabbing the same people and the same old thing, with the same old theme all the time, because they got the cliche or they got the backing of this particular organization, and we really want to be with this organization.
Yep.
And so it's wild because a lot of times it's a money game with schools. It's a lot of things that people could make happen if they actually would put a little bit more effort into.
Yep.
So I do got to kind of call the administrators to the carpet a little bit, because I've seen that happen where, you know, I'm going to grab him because I know that this person is doing this particular. And again, there's nothing wrong with helping your friends out. But are you helping your friends out to the detriment of the people that they're actually supposed to be coming over there to help?
Absolutely.
Are people able to get something from that?
Absolutely.
Okay? And okay, you brought them out one time. Some of y'all bringing these people out back to back to back, year after year, and it's not helping anything.
And sometimes you bring these PDs as a one-off.
Absolutely.
There's no follow-up.
There's no follow-up, and it actually was the one that people enjoyed.
Where's the follow-up?
Why didn't they come back?
We just doing it to check a box. Stop
So,
checking boxes all the time, man.
So I got to do this PD, and I got to have it done by this day, so I'm going to just get somebody in here. It don't even really matter if the people like it or not. So, like, what are we really doing in that particular case? Can we get somebody in here that's going to actually help and help us move forward and get kids to another place, get families to another place, get educators to another place, instead of just bringing somebody in here, like you said, one-off because we had to meet an obligation, check that list. Like, come on, man. It's a lot of that happening, though, Walt. There's a lot of lazy stuff going on in a lot of these schools. It's a lot of stuff that's undermined, like underhanded.
We didn't seen it.
Weird.
We didn't seen it for so long.
Over and over again. It's like to the detriment of the school. Like, it's weird. Like, you don't make a lot of money in schools, and there are some people who are like, they want it all. They want the title. They want the money. They want the whatever they think, the prestige that go along with it. And if they come into the room and you got something good going on, they'll try to suck the air out. And so it's weird, but like,
yeah, man,
it definitely happens all over the educational landscape.
I agree. And then it's funny that we doing this right now. We talking about teachers and, you know, talking about ICE with his teacher and things like that. And Teacher Appreciation Week is next month. I mean, next week.
Next week.
So my hope is that I can chop this up and get this out so we can, you know, at least some little pieces, you know, just showing them some love and stuff like that. You know,
question.
Because, you know, Teacher Appreciation Week, you know, again, in terms of celebrations and stuff like that, I feel like teachers should be valued all the time, right?
Every day.
And I get it.
Every day.
And I think you said something. I'm actually gonna post that soon about what the teachers really need. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just that, you know, give them that time or give me something that can help my family in terms of monetary gain. Like, I mean, we don't need, what'd you say? We don't need no piece of party. I don't need no sticker. Well, no, I don't some people want that sticker.
It's some people that want that sticker that got mad that somebody else got one and they didn't get one. And
I forgot what that item was. Really, what did that teacher want?
Really strange.
What did that teacher want that one time?
It's like a pen.
Or a peppermint or something?
It was something real trivial.
Yeah, and it just seemed like it was
we
important to her though.
About that, but it really was the principle of it for her.
Right.
It wasn't the thing, but it just seemed. At the end of the day, it still seemed kind of petty to me. But like, a lot of people need the recognition, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people need you to, you know, to pat them on their back.
Right.
You know, how many times were we on our job and people said, "Well, I'm doing my job. Well, I'm doing my job." Like they had to make it known that they was doing their job because it was like.
Don't do that because it was so many.
I'm just saying it was so many people.
It was so many people like,
I be doing my job.
I'm doing my job. I'm like, okay.
Right. Somebody said you wasn't. Like, you don't have to have that energy with me. I'm watching you. I can see you what you're doing right now. The slow clap.
Come on, man. Do your thing, man.
Look, shout out to the teachers.
Shout out to the teachers, man.
This is a really hard time of the year. It's the dog days. Not a lot of times in terms of breaks and stuff that's left. And a lot of people have put in a lot of work. We see the memes on.
It's over with.
on Instagram with the little balloon blowing. Like that's all the energy that you got left.
It's over with.
There's a lot of people that's tapped
It's
out
May.
right now.
They
Please.
just had standardized testing. When the standardized testing is over with,
It's over with.
It's over with. It's
like
downhill.
You are really pushing them hard to get to that standardized testing. Like that is, you can see the finish line. It's coming, bro. It's like right up. It's right up there.
It's too close.
It's right up
so
there.
shout out to the teachers, man. Shout out y'all.
Don't let go of the rope, y'all.
Don't let go. It's almost over with. It's almost over with, and y'all deserve more.
Way more.
We're not in a position to get you guys more, but trust and believe that we support y'all, and if y'all need us, y'all can reach out to us at any time.
The messaging is out there. Y'all definitely need more. We can definitely do that piece for y'all. So.
Yeah, I mean, shoot us questions. Shoot us scenarios and situations that you might want us to speak on too, because we're all about that. I mean, right now This is all freestyle, so we just really talking about something and building off of it, and we just really want to continue to be advocates for the teachers and for the educational space, administrators too, and kids. Trying to bring it all together so we can all try to figure out some way to be harmonious in this whole educational journey for everyone. And we know it's not easy, man.
It's not. It's not. It's a lot of variables that make it be hard. But like you said, sometimes, like going back to the ice example, you have to block out the pieces that like. Yeah, I noticed that they're there or whatever, but they're a little trivial. If I got to try to keep my mind focused on getting to this piece or whatever. So sometimes I got to do away with that. And again, that is hard because as a teacher, you get caught into that sometimes. Your feelings are you're a little raw. You scrub raw. We just talked about shout out because it's the dog days of the school year. Teachers are raw. They don't have nothing left, right?
That's it.
And and
that's
kids,
it.
And kids are they raw too, right? They tired of coming to your classroom. They tired of listening to you.
The weather done broke.
It's starting to get nice outside. And everybody can see it, and so you scrubbed a little raw. So it's tough not to feel a certain type of way some days and some hours and some minutes, and but always trying to reflect and go back. Make sure y'all get that Mark Period Musing. Get that
Mark Period Musing on Amazon.
It's on Amazon, man. So get that Mark Period Musing. Get what they don't teach you. It's on Amazon. It's in Barnes and Noble. So we got it a couple of different places, but like. Have your moment to where you can go away and reflect and get yourself back together because it's a long school year. Yeah. It's a long school year. And
you made it. You just about made it.
You made it. You've been dealing with them attitudes and all them different personalities.
Kids coming back in after getting in trouble. We hear you.
It's crazy. We know
I remember. We remember.
We know what happens in the classrooms, bro.
I had to send them back. Let me chill.
What your boy do to MJ? I had to do it. I had to.
I feel you.
I don't know how many times I had that conversation with teachers. Like,
I feel you.
The objective is for the kid to be in the classroom, so they coming back to the class. Yeah. So the less you can take things personally, and again, I know what we talking about here, y'all.
Right.
I didn't been pushed to the brink by a kid and just been like, man, this boy got to go.
Right.
Or girl, or whatever.
Right.
And they back in 15 minutes. I had to.
Right.
Get yourself together, Holloway, because you have to get through the day teaching them.
Yep. So stay firm, stay solid, stay solid.
Try to be as solid as you can.
Keep doing your thing. And until next time, what's your motive?
Peace, y'all.
Peace.